perhaps the least known and talked about work in this collection. Welcome to Strip Coverlet. I'm Adrian Fort.
And I'm Dalton Gentry.
And we're here with a review. What are we reviewing right now?
We are almost finished up with the 10th of December, short story collection from Saunders. This is Roosten by George Saunders.
Yes, so 6 good things, 6 bad things, quotes, a full literary analysis, a recommendation, and a rating after the bump.
Okay, we're going to start with this 3 good things. Ready?
Yes.
Okay, good things. Roosten. The writing style, and I mean using the abrupt hyphenated ending, is pulled off very well. Changing perspective, just boom, boom, boom. Everybody knows Roosten. This is a very familiar character, as disappointing as that is. And when Saunders' humor is on point, it is on point. It is funny.
Yes. We've talked a lot about dangerous writing on this channel.
Okay.
It's something that we've tried to define a few times. This is dangerous writing.
Okay.
This is things that are admitted to the reader, which the reader is able to then judge based on them, but instead we get closer to the story because of them.
Okay.
2, this is both funny and sad in typical George Saunders fashion. And number 3, Roosten is a full and round character. You're seeing a person here, not just words on a page.
Okay. 3 bad things. As always with Saunders, this one can lead you straight into a dead end. This tells a story, but doesn't accomplish anything. And this is another abrupt, obscure ending. Thanks, Saunders. This is just what I wanted.
Right. Along those lines, you could have said that about any of the works in this piece, right?
Yeah, very much so.
The works in this collection. And that's one of my bad things, is this piece fits into this collection too neatly.
Okay.
It feels as if it were written to go with the rest of these short stories. As if it was written to say, well, I need a 10th one. 2, this doesn't feel like there's as much behind this piece as, for example, the Simplica Girl Diaries.
Okay.
Which is just
great story.
An amazing story. And 3, it would be easy to undervalue this text, despite the fact that it feels like maybe there's not as much behind there. That's the fine line you play with this type of humor, right?
Okay.
It is possible to just laugh it all off.
If we're going to start with quotes here, I have a great one.
Okay.
This is a damn fine quote. I hope you picked it as well. This is from 101. Hundreds of dry leaf fragments were skidding across the Flapjacker's parking lot. A bird on a parking bumper bolted, alarmed at the advance of the leaves. Stupid leaves. They'd never catch that bird. Unless he killed it with a stone, left it lying there. They'd be so grateful they'd declare him the king of leaves. Haha. He gave the pile of leaves a vicious kick. I love that.
Yeah.
That's gorgeous.
My quote actually comes from 98, a couple pages before.
Okay.
Oh, mansion schmansion. Did Gandhi's house have the largest outdoor trampoline in the tri-state area? Did Jesus have a 2-acre remote-controlled car track with mountains to scale and a little village that lit up at night? Not in his Bible.
It's good. It's very good.
And it fits very well into this piece, doesn't it?
It does.
A quote very similar to that was in another short story, but I can't remember which one it was.
This one is a weird read, because much like Saunders, it just drops you into a situation and goes.
Yeah.
You have no backstory, you don't know what's going on, and you basically figure it out at the seat of your pants. My big argument here, though, and this is both good and terrifying, is everybody knows an Roosten.
Yes.
Roosten is the guy you went to high school with, that you see once every 6 or 7 years because he still lives in your hometown. He hasn't really done anything different. All he wants to talk about is you in high school and the things you did. Which leads to the argument, is Roosten the character who never grew up? That's my big argument with this here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, I think that it goes back to one of my deals here. Roosten has an external locus of control.
Okay.
Versus an internal locus of control.
Okay.
If all these things hadn't gone wrong, maybe he would have moved away. But he is a victim of that, right?
Okay.
That's why he gets vicious and kicks the pile of leaves. That's why he gets vicious and he kicks old boy's wallet and keys under the stadium bleachers there. He is acted upon and retaliates, as opposed to an internal locus of control where you were the author of the things happening.
Now, whether he's a victim or not, I think it's very apparent that Al Roosten is a very immature, childlike character. And my argument is, in this, he is living in his past. This is a man who's been in this town, who's never left this town, who's become a local celebrity in this town because he's never left. This is all he does.
He also says that they have a very low threshold for what makes a celebrity.
They do. Which is self-degrading, which is even better. But he has conversations with his dead mother still, so he's clinging, quite literally, to his mother. Can't let her go. Do you know what his shop's called, where he sells his stuff?
I don't remember.
It's called Bygone Days. He sells old antiques, things like that from bygone days. He's very immature in the fact that he kicks things, he throws temper tantrums, and his flawed past seems to be what creates this fantasy of a future. So much has gone wrong in his past, and that could be argued, it could be many things, that he has to fantasize his future. There's that scene where he's talking about, telling the guy about his keys, and they have dinner and they laugh it off because they formed this great relationship because he found the keys. This is a man who cannot accept his past. I would argue because there was some kind of trauma in his past that he is so concerned with that he has to fantasize a future.
Well, and I think another thing that goes to corroborate your point is the fact that he mentions he was a wrestler in high school, right?
Yes.
But he's overweight now.
Yes.
But he still fantasizes himself as that wrestler,
yes.
Right? He sees himself as that person. Now, there's the character of May, who was studying to be a nurse, right?
Yes.
And he makes fun of her in his mind because she's 45 now.
Yeah.
She's going to be a nurse? Ha!
Yes.
Now, what he's also doing there is he is denying someone else their future, right?
Okay.
So this is a person with an external locus of control for whom, because of that, the future is a giant mystery, right? But what are the odds that you're going to be a nurse at 45? Well, they're very good if you're working that hard, aren't they? Despite the fact that she's having to work 3 jobs, things like that. So the internal locus of control is what allows you to be the author of your actions and be able to plan, right?
Okay.
So I think that plays into that.
What made Al Roosten? Can we agree there's some kind of damage going on with this kid, this guy?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with him here, but there is definitely some kind of damage going on because this is not a healthy-minded adult.
It feels like he is the product of a broken home because of the emphasis he puts on someone else's children, because of the fact that he is still connected to his mother, though she's dead.
Yes.
Never mentions a father.
Never mentions a father.
And the question there at the beginning with, during wrestling practice, sometimes I would get an erection inside my cup. That's what you're... Okay,
that's where I was going with that. Well, that's the thing. He does bring up... That's one of the few things he mentions is, one, he has had one broken past relationship.
I'm sorry. Let me clarify this right now because
I
I don't want this to sound like I'm saying that being in a broken home makes someone homosexual or something like that. But what happens is when you were raised by women, you don't know a lot of things about how your gender works.
Okay.
Right? These are things that are always a mystery to you. So the fact that a physical stimulation, like he says, the cat sitting on his lap sometimes gave him the same arousal. You were not able to understand that physical contact can give you an erection. It doesn't have to be,
Yeah. However, with that whole thought process here, if we go back to Al Roosten being a very childlike character who is stuck in his past, it seems to be what he is stuck on is his sexual identity. Because the one thing that he does argue from, like you said, the wrestling event from 93, and from that day on, whenever he found himself wandering, whether he liked guys, he always remembered walking in the woods after the liberating realization that he was no more attracted to guys than to cats, just happily kicking the tops off mushrooms. A spirit of tremendous relief. So we did get a phallic symbol there. That's the only time he mentions his sexuality. Except he does also mention that maybe this gentleman... who's the other character? What's his first name? Matt?
Can't remember.
I'm sorry that I totally just blanked on that. Larry Donfrey.
Yeah.
Is Larry Donfrey attractive? That's what spurred this thought. He does mention at one point that he has had a failed past relationship. Is that what this is? Is this a character who has struggled with his sexual identity for so long that he has stuck himself in childhood, in adolescence, where he was unable to achieve that sexual growth?
It very much seems so. And another thing that I think points to that is the very premise of this story is set up based on sexual worth, is it not?
Yes.
They are paraded about so that women from the town
Yes.
can bid
on them.
on having a date with them for charity.
Yes.
And from this, he goes off on all these tangents about sexuality and will they appreciate me, and Dawnfree apologizes to him, says, don't worry, champ, they'll forget it in a week.
Yes.
When he thought he'd done a very good job. Now, it's also... That is a very adolescent type of masculinity, right?
Okay.
The need to destroy.
Okay.
But a very telling type of masculinity is when he says, I went off alone into the woods after wrestling practice because I was questioning my sexuality.
Yes.
Right? The man as the wanderer, as the loner, as the person who has to go off and not have any goddamn distractions because he needs to think.
Yes.
And he needs to destroy. Right? That's in there, isn't it?
Yes. And
when he goes to the locker room to be alone and to process what just happened, he must destroy.
Okay. And if anyone doesn't agree with that argument, go home by yourself when you have a night alone and just get shitty drunk and start writing. You'll find it. It's there.
Yeah, it's there.
It's there. Roosten is damaged. We agree with that. He is fundamentally unreliable as well. Not only is, he's having conversations with dead relatives, but the writing style in here, which I think is wonderfully done by Saunders, where he stops a thought, moves directly into another thought, which he stops, moves into another thought. It very much exemplifies how unreliable Al Roosten is. So can we believe what's going on with Al Roosten here? Can we acknowledge the fact that any of this is really happening? Because he does fantasize. That's his big thing. He fantasizes about what's going on with this. He fantasizes about going back and telling Larry about the keys, about the wallet. Is any of this really going on? Or is he just still stuck in that when he's walking out at the beginning and being paraded in front of people? Is this whole thing just a fantasy that he's creating to cope with that?
I don't think that there's any reason really to question that, because you don't put embarrassing things into your own fantasies, right?
Okay.
So I think that this is all real. I don't see any reason to question that. But I think that you definitely have to take a look at the scope in which through which things are seen.
Okay.
Right? Because you do have that apology from Dawnfree about, it'll be all right.
Yeah,
they'll forget about it in a week. And you have to wonder, so I think that there are things there that you have to wonder how they happened versus if they happened.
Okay.
Because he talks about the women cheering when he flexed his muscle. But why was it that Dawnfree apologized to him? That said it'd be all right. I'm sorry, things will be all right. So you have to question where it was that things went wrong and where that transcription error happened.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
But I think it is a neat trick, like you say, with how well all of these things work in here. If you've never read this story and you're listening to us speak, it would sound like this is a first-person narration, wouldn't it?
I guess, yeah. Yeah, it would.
But this is a third-person narration.
Yes, it is.
Do you know the term for how that is pulled off?
No.
It is called psychic distance.
Okay.
The psychic distance with which the writer writes. For example, Hemingway often used a very far psychic distance. He's just showing you what these characters did. He is letting you hear what these characters said.
Okay.
One thing that George Saunders does is, despite the fact that this is written in third person, you not only have things that Al Roosten is thinking, you have things that Al Roosten remembers.
Okay.
You have things that Al Roosten... Things are omitted from a third-person narrative. Things that happened, right?
Okay.
Things which actually happened, we do not see because the psychic distance is so close.
Okay.
So I think that is a neat trick, and it's very difficult to pull off.
I think if there is any question about Saunders as a writer, this would be a great story for an example.
How do you mean?
It's written very well, but it is very different. A lot of things are being played with here. Like you said, the psychic distance. The change in dialogue, the inner dialogue talking to the inner dialogue, but still changing the thoughts as if there were dialogue.
Right.
It's very bizarre, but it's well done. Very well done.
Yes.
Which I think makes this a very enjoyable read.
But, along those lines, it is enjoyable, yes?
It is very enjoyable.
It is funny, yes?
It's very funny.
There are no huge stakes at the end, are there?
Nope.
There's sort of an ambiguous ending, isn't there?
Very much so.
So if you were not reading this looking to get literature out of it, if you were not reading this for the show, do you think you would have pulled out of it what you pulled out of it? Or do you think you would have zoomed by it and thought, well, that was a fun read?
And, that's the difficulty of... I hate getting into, saying, oh, that was pop lit. That's why it was just a quick read and I didn't get anything out of it. It's really hard to say at this point, because can you read anything without thinking like this at this point?
I can't, and that's what gets me in trouble. Right? I can't watch a movie or a television show, God forbid I be in front of a television, or football. I can't watch football without thinking, some of the things that went on in that play, they're really indicative of the human struggle.
Here's what really kills me is, I've been thinking about doing a little reading for myself. Right. Every now and then I try to slip in a novel for me, and I really want to read the Anthony Bourdain book that Monse got me. And I'm afraid to, because I know I'm going to do like a quickie review on it, and I know I'm going to break it down, and I love Anthony Bourdain and his writing so much that I'm afraid to hurt myself with it.
Right.
I don't want to break that. So going into this, reading it as just a fun read, whatever, I think I'm still going to enjoy it. It's bizarre. The beginning is very different, because like I said, you're literally just dropped into the action, and it's a benefit for kids not doing drugs. What did they call it? Because it was a hilarious title. Give me 2 seconds.
I can't remember.
And I will pull it up, because it's right at the beginning.
Yeah.
The MC for Laugh Kids Off Crack.
Yeah.
And they're anti-drug clowns.
Yeah.
So you do get that nostalgia, which maybe is what made me think high school without Roosten.
Right.
Because this is very much a middle school, high school drug rally.
Right, but here's how I will explain this. Have you ever seen those books that are like The Philosophy of Garfield?
Yes.
Okay, so when you read Garfield, it's funny, right?
Okay.
What a prick of a cat, right? You get that little laugh. But really, the thing that makes you laugh, that mechanism, that switch that says, this is entertaining, is much deeper than the giggle itself.
Okay.
Not often in our lives do we stop to really look into that mechanism. Those books are what that mechanism is. These books, George Saunders short stories, are basically, they're that book they're the Philosophy of Garfield written as fiction.
Okay.
Right? So it's a double switch.
Okay. This is going to get me going on a tangent now, but there's one that I've seen 1,000 times working at the bookstore. It's called The Tao of Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. But I've always wanted to read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Repair, Motorcycle Maintenance. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. A little bit.
Should I read it? I don't know.
I've never read it.
I demand a suggestion now, because that's what's making me think about it. And I've always wanted to read it, I just never have.
Yeah, I've heard very good things. In fact, since we started this channel, it's been suggested to me several times.
We're going to have to read it. That's all there is to it. But no, I enjoyed this story. It was an enjoyable read. There's a lot of good stuff going on here. I think one thing we haven't really mentioned is, we can call Al Roosten an unreliable character, an immature adolescent character. He is kind of a terrifying character as well. This guy's a loose cannon.
He is a loose cannon, but it doesn't seem that he does anything that is particularly actually harmful.
At this point.
You don't think everyone has flip-out moments where they do things that are completely irrational?
This seems like the guy who, goes to work every day smiling and happy until he just blows the place up.
Okay, I don't know that I necessarily see that character. I think that he mentions that he had the failed relationship. I think he is the reason that relationship failed.
I'd say, yeah. I agree with that.
But at no point do we get that it was, or do we get any hint that it was like domestic abuse that forced that relationship to fail, right?
Maybe I'm just used to, reading things that Adrian suggests to me where like, oh, here's a damaged character. It's going to get dark. Maybe that's where we're going with this.
I don't know why you have to bring up criticisms of Adrian while we're doing this.
Because it's the only thing I do well.
I didn't criticize you.
Do you have anything else you really want to say about Al Roosten? I don't have a lot to talk about with this. I feel pretty accomplished with saying with what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I think I've said my piece on this piece.
Okay. What would you rate this piece?
Now, again, it's very, very difficult for me to let George Saunders' work fall below the A range. So I would give this 90 Homs out of 100.
I will let it fall below the A range because I don't care about George Saunders' feelings, but I will give him an 89 Dead Mothers. It was good. I enjoyed it. It's not Simplica Girl Diaries. It's not Escape from Spiderhead. But this is right up there. I'd say probably my top 3 so far.
Okay.
In this collection. Yeah, I liked this one.
So this is okay. So this is probably number 3.
Yeah, number 3, maybe 4. I mean, I could probably schluff something else in there. Let me look at them one more time. I know I enjoyed Puppy. Sticks was okay.
That is interesting to me because I think that this is a very, I won't say simple. Simple's probably not the right term, but I think this is a very,
yeah. Out of this collection, this is my 3rd favorite so far.
Really?
Absolutely so.
You like this more than 10th of December.
I know
you did not like 10th of December, but
yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, that is impressive to me.
What would you suggest?
This character's a prick, right?
Okay.
Not a good guy, right?
All right.
We've got sort of a, not just a broken character, but sort of a broken situation.
Okay.
Right? I think that if you enjoyed this and you enjoyed Al Roosten, you would really enjoy Choke by Chuck Palahniuk.
Okay.
Because they are similar characters at the center of things. Palahniuk obviously takes things in a bit darker of a scenario.
Yes.
But the Choke book is, I won't say equally as funny, but there's definitely laughs in there.
There's humor in there.
And you have very similar characters whose stories sort of go in not opposite directions, but different directions.
Issues with their mother, issues with sexual identity.
Yes.
There's a lot going on with that.
Yeah.
I would suggest, because in my opinion, Al Roosten is in fact terrifying and creepy and damaged. American Psycho, Bret Easton Ellis.
Really?
I'm going to give it that. That is the feel that I got from this. I don't trust Al Roosten by the end of this reading. That is not the guy that I want to be alone with.
It's not that you don't... Okay, so there's a difference between not trusting someone and finding them dangerous, though. You find Al Roosten dangerous.
Yes.
You really do.
Yeah, Al Roosten is damaged enough in this piece that Al Roosten will be dangerous.
See, I don't think so. I think that Al Roosten is... He's a guy whose life sucks, and he finds shitty little ways to take that out. But sometimes shitty little ways to take that out is stealing pins from the workplace or one of your friends.
When you have somebody who you're looking at, like, through this... What? I don't steal pins from you.
You do too, you son of a bitch.
I bring them back. That's not stealing. It's borrowing. When you have somebody who is damaged like this, and who is getting into these deep, elaborate fantasies, and who is justifying their actions, we're going down a slippery slope here.
But the fact that he's in these deep, elaborate fantasies is the same reason that he's stuck in high school.
Okay.
Because you don't leave, but you think about it.
Okay.
Right?
All right. Whatever you want to say about it.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't see Al Roosten as a dangerous character.
Okay. If you like this kind of thing, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. We have one more story from the 10th of December.
My Chivalric Fiasco.
My Chivalric Fiasco, and then we're going to put this on the shelf.
Which I think you will hate. I don't think you're going to like My Chivalric Fiasco.
That sounds fair. I'll give you that one. Make sure you hit the like button down below as well. We always appreciate that.
If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. I don't know if you already said that or not. I was too busy being mad at you, but make sure you follow us on Twitter @StripCover and on Facebook @StripCoverLit.